Hello, my friends. Hi, my name is Natasha, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Today is another Motivation Monday. I love Mondays. I know it's sometimes a little bit hard to get going, but really, I know the week supposedly really begins on Sunday, but for me, it begins on Monday, and many things begin on Monday. And so today, the quote and thought that has been resonating with me is, now let me get it straight here. Go for what you want or settle for what you get. And so this came to my mind this morning, and I'm sure I wasn't the first one to say it or think it or hear it or anything, but it just really connected with me today. And so it's helped me to have the motivation, but also have an open mind and this realization that all these times and days that I'm not putting energy and focus into betterment of myself, or going after my dreams, or even just creating plans, whatever it may be, even if it's one small action, then I need to be content with just settling for what it is. And if I'm not going out there and going and getting what I want, then somebody else is figuring it out for me. And I don't want anybody telling me what it is I want. I want to figure that out myself. And so here's one of the things I want. Here's my new one to share with you guys. I know it's an obsession, but something about sparkles just make me so happy. The way that bottle shines, I don't know, it brings me joy. I like the way it feels. It's not that hard to wash. It's fine. So I've had a great day today. I've started off, I took my son to PT, and in there I get to talk with these people, and over the course of going there for 8+ months and having many kids that have been there, you create friendships. And so again, I was there, and the lovely just guy, he just made my heart, because I was saying I didn't get to try the what do you think it's called? I think they're called From Guam with Love or something like that. Love from Guam, that's what they were called. And I was like, I didn't get to try that cookie. I only got the chocolate chips because I didn't read that, and by the time I read it, I didn't want to get back in line. And he literally walked over and gave me one of the cookies. I was like, no way. He's like, no, I haven't touched her. I'm like, I don't even care. So it was so sweet of him. I was like, oh my gosh, he totally made my day, and it was delicious. So it had macadamia nuts in there and chocolate chips, and I don't know, it just tasted like caramely deliciousness, sweet. So I drank it with my milk afterwards, after my lunch. So it was, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much for sharing with me. That literally made my day. But so I say all that to say, really go after things. So today I've been again doing things, and what I decided today too was it was a really nice day, and not only was I motivated, but I also felt this need to kind of be outside a little bit and just feel the sun on me, do a little cleanup, when winter's leaving and spring is here now. It hasn't always felt like it this spring so far, but today kind of felt like a spring day. There were flowers blooming, but there were some things that needed to be tended to after a long winter. And so I spent 3 hours outside cleaning up some of my flowers, replanting some, moving them around, and it just feels so nice, because I know it's 3 hours of work that I didn't anticipate. It wasn't on my list to do, but it needed to be done. Every time I looked up there, I'm like, ugh, looks so messy, or unkept, and these flowers parts, the new ones are already blooming. I needed to clean off the other stuff. And so it was really nice, and I got to set up my flowers. I also got to replant some succulents, and I have so much fun. I don't know what it's called, propagating, I think they're called, taking little pieces and from nothing creating something. That means so much to me. And so even when I was in PT, in regards to that, I went to go looked on my LinkedIn, and I have over 500 connections now. Again, it's something from nothing, and I know it doesn't mean anything on the scheme of life, it's not, but I love these examples to say, yeah, a few weeks ago you had nothing. And just the same thing with my business. I now have a name. I now have registered for the domain name. Like, it is mine. Like, I've looked into doing a trademark. I have looked into doing, like doing the Twitter, but there was a little obstacle with that one. So I'm going to try to figure out a way if I can figure that. If not, then that's okay. We'll just have to figure something else there. But I'm working on like actually getting the YouTube, like doing all kinds of things. So it's like, yes, it's not like significant, tangible things each day, but it's the same thing like my working out. It was like, here are my non-negotiables. And so I'm really trying to make a plan and say, okay, what works for me? Okay, if I dedicate, 8 to 9 a.m. every day, or 9 to 10, or 11 to 12, kind of like even this with the film, like before, January 9th, I had 0 hours filmed to put onto YouTube. And now here I am. I don't know what is it? Today's April the 1st. And I've only missed when I was out of town, and I was fine with that. Like, I even bought the stuff to take it, didn't take it because of all the craziness that had occurred. But then decided that, hey, I am here with my son and I want to value this time together because it is finite. So like these last few weeks, I've had a lot of like people in town. Like, we've had a lot of family, we've had a lot of friends, like the kids have been home. There's been a lot of things, friends meeting for lunch, things like this. And it's deterred me from my like normal routine, which kind of makes me tired because I try to fit everything. Like, I want my cake and eat it too. Like, I want to be able to do that and do these things. And so like what means is I just stay up later, I just work longer or work harder, but I still usually achieve whatever it is I set out to. But then again, like tomorrow, like my son's girlfriend leaves back home. My daughter's leaving out of town with her boyfriend. So we're like, this house had been super full. And, last week, every night was these, big, family dinners and gathering and board games and, laughing and talking. Half of those people are going to be leaving now. And so it's really sad. Like, there's a part of me that's really sad. But I also know that that's life. They have to go off and live their own lives. They can't just stay here in this little bubble and have dinners with mom and, their siblings and dad. And, so, it's always an adjustment when, I love it. It's exhausting when, it's so many people, but then I really feel sad and miss it. But I also opens up this opportunity for me to like use all that time that I sit around chitty chatting with everybody, to then use those minutes to focus again on doing these things. And I wouldn't trade it because again, it's finite. Like, to me, it's really important to have those connections. Like today, I was about to run and do my writing, and my son was like, hey, would you like to go play cornhole with me? And I was like, yes. Like, it wasn't even a hesitation. Like, because here's the thing, there's been so many times that I've been like, oh gosh, I have this going on, I have this going on. But how many opportunities in life am I going to have that my 18-year-old son is like, hey, mom, you want to go play cornhole with me? I don't know, hopefully thousands and millions of them, but really, I don't know. And so what am I going to say? No, I'm going to run and write and do these things. I could, but today I was like, no, I don't know where he will be in a year from now. I don't know where I will be in a year from now, but I know where he's here and he's asking, and I'm going to play with him. So, and the funny thing about that was we were playing cornhole, and at first I was like, I was doing pretty good. And he looks at me, and there was this board game we used to play when he was little. It was called like the Ladybug game. And I loved the Ladybug game because of this. It was created by a young girl. I believe she was like 10 or 11 or 12. It had the whole bio story in the game. And it was called the Ladybug game. It was a blue box, big old ladybug on the cover. And I loved playing it because it was like from the mind of a kid. Like, I was like, here it is. Again, this is what I say, like, this was in her imagination. And she had the courage as a kid to like go up to her parents or whoever she went up to and was like, I have this idea for a game. And they went with it. It wasn't like, yeah, okay. So many things it's like, okay, yeah. You can't make a board game. You're not, what is it? Hasbro or Milton or whatever these things are called. But no, she didn't take like that as an option. Like it was like, yes, I can. And yes, she did. So like she was not settling. Like she went for what she wanted, and she wanted to create a board game, and she did. And I loved that. So I loved playing that game because of like the story behind it. Like I say, I love supporting the patisserie because the story behind it. And I hope that people love to support me because the story's behind me. Like I think that's where I'm best, is like I'm here being honest and being vulnerable and hoping that somebody can say, hey, like I believe in you, I believe in what you're saying, like yes, like I get this. Like so it's really fun for that, because I feel like this is my patisserie, this is my board game, this is my thing that I didn't know I wanted. And that's the thing about it, I think is so cool, is like it's not like I sat down as a 5th grader and was like, this is what I want to do when I grow up. No, because A, this didn't even exist when I was in 5th grade. And B, like I didn't even have any inclination to even be in this direction. Like I just didn't know. I used to like say like, oh, I want to be, I don't know, a lawyer, a child psychologist, or real estate agent, gosh, what else? Let's think. Oh, interior designer, you know, all these things that it was just like they would come to me every once in a while, and I'd be like, oh, I enjoyed this one thing, and there. But the fact that I keep coming to this, and it's like, it's not like, oh, I have to. It's like, okay, I get to do this. And even when I sit down here, and I kind of feel bad because I'm like, you know, I feel like I need to have like a script, or I feel like I need to like, you know, have some kind of focus so that you can follow along. But I'm like, I will get there if that's the way it's supposed to be. Like just me getting in here and doing the reps and coming consistently and having, I don't know, the ability to even keep a conversation with myself for 30 minutes, like is pretty incredible in my own eyes, that like I make any sense at all. So I appreciate you for hanging in and supporting that kind of process, and I can't wait to see where this goes, and it will be thanks to you. So know that you are a huge part of any success I have. You are the reason why I get up and do this. Like you are, like connecting with you is so important to me. So anyways, I say all that to say, we were out there playing cornhole, and he was like, okay, Mom, don't go ladybug game on me. And I just started laughing. He's like, I can lose. Like, I don't want you throwing the game, you know, because you don't think I can lose. And it's so funny because, you know, I don't think I would have or anything like that at this point. I don't, you know, like, it's not like, okay, you know, like obviously he plays a lot of games, soccer, competitive video gaming and all this stuff. Like he obviously has learned how to lose, right? As they all have. And but I love his competitive spirit, that he was like, I don't want the win if I didn't earn it. And I loved that, and I just laughed, and I was like, that's funny. I wasn't going to, but I appreciate, you know, you thinking I would have done that for you. And so that was pretty funny. And then we were also, so I won that one, but then he was like, hey, he set up the whole thing to play like ladder toss, I think it's called. We call it a different name again. I won't say it here. It's not necessarily PG. But so we were playing that game, and I was doing pretty good, but he ended up beating me twice. I was like, well, you were the champion today. So he's like, okay, well, maybe we can play again tomorrow. So I was like, yeah, you know, I love going outside and playing in the sun, people walking by or stopping and watching. And, you know, I think that it's just nice to be outside and be doing something, especially for somebody like him who can spend a lot of time, you know, in this virtual world. It's nice to get outside and not have an electronic in his hand. And that was one of the things I enjoyed most about yesterday too, was like we did these activities that did not involve any form of electronics, right? Like we were in an escape room, and we played cornhole, and we played ladder toss, and you know, I think that that's important. I think, you know, yeah, there's so many benefits of all the electronics that we have out there, but on the same turn, like it is so hard to have those connections when people are looking down or having distractions and stuff like that. So any opportunity. Now we did end up playing like a Family Feud game, which was on TV or whatever. And then, you know, the Jackbox was like kind of an interactive thing. That we all played that's like on a game, but it was like the games we chose were very like team based and stuff like that. So I definitely think that technology helps us in so many ways, but I also think it like robs us of some of that like human contact and human connection, that like looking somebody in the eyes and, you know, seeing their face and reading their expressions and their body language, I think is so important. And I, you know, think often back to this. So at one time I had heard this Oprah being interviewed, and she was saying, you know, it didn't matter who I interviewed. Like this thing is across all, you know, this concept I'm about to say, it transcends all. Like it didn't matter if you were rich, if you were poor, if you were male, if you were female, if you were non-binary, if you were, you know, a president of the United States, homeless person, like it didn't matter who she was interviewing, she said. But at the end of every one of the interviews, the people would always eagerly ask, like, was I good enough? Did I do good? And for some reason, like that, like little snippet has always stuck with me. And I think about that a lot because it's like, we all have this like desire to be good enough. We all have this desire to be seen. We all have this desire to be heard. And like, you know, we want our story to be shared. And sometimes we get so caught up that we don't get like all that reassurance back to us that we should give ourselves and externally. So like, I just found it interesting to me that like, it didn't matter, like the most confident people in the room, and you know, that have achieved like all these great things, they still too worry about like, was I good enough? Did I do good? You know, like, and you don't think about it. Like I didn't, at least. Like I always think of, you know, these people as like, you know, these extremely evolved beings, and you know, they have so much practice, and you know, they are the doers of the world, right? Like they're not the ones that are, you know, they went for what it was. They didn't just settle for it. Like they went to become president. They went for it. Like they, you know, became actors and actresses. They wrote the book. They started the business. They, you know, all those things, you know, I found it very interesting that that was still like a concern. And I think that like, it just shows how human we are. And at the end of the day, we really need each other, and like we need a community. Like I say, I often think back, like obviously I would say there's many reasons why I wouldn't want to go back in time. But I think about how, you know, and I don't know if this is the way in other cultures or other things, but like I think back to like the Native Americans and how it was just such a community, and you know, it was a tribe, and you know, people were able to excel at what they were excel at, and you know, what they excelled at, and you know, it was really a collective effort. And I feel like in some ways, in some instances, you know, maybe in your job, you work in a big company or maybe even a small company, and you guys, you know, work in that method. But I feel like in so many ways, the sense of community, even though we live in these, you know, pre-existing communities, it's like slipping away. You walk down the street, you know, in the evening, you take a walk and you wave to people, and it's so foreign because you watch that, you know, oh, that person didn't wave to the people before. Like, it's just not, it's not the same. I don't know. I also grew up in Foster City. So that was a city, it was like a man-made city. I think I've said this before, but it has this levee that keeps the bay out of the city. And so we used to bike ride and walk on there all the time. I mean, nearly every day. Like, really, we were out there as long as it wasn't raining or way too hot, which it rarely was in Foster City. It had this like amazing bay breeze. So it stayed pretty cool overall. And I would ride my bike past people or walk past, and it was always like, hi, everybody was waving. There was never anybody, looking down at their phone because they didn't exist. Like maybe they were, dealing with their Walkman and the tape had jammed or something. But other than that, like it was definitely a lot more, like, like people were just a lot more of a community there. It just seemed a lot friendlier in those days. But I think that we have that power, and it's like, if I want to be in a friendlier world, well then I'm just friendlier. Like if I go walk past somebody, I'm gonna wave and say hi. 99.9% of the times people do, and you keep doing it. And it's funny because I'll be like, like when Dylan and I used to walk, it was like, oh, he's graduated from the crutches. Oh, now he's out of the brace. Like people would start to notice things because it's like you became familiar. You had your little patterns and things, and you would sometimes walk past the same people, even if you went in different directions, if you were just happened to be out in the same time. And it's just nice to know that there are people out there, and people do notice you, and people do see you, and you notice them, and you give them some kind of kindness, and it might inspire them to maybe wave at or say hello to the next person they walk past. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, maybe they're frustrated by it. They want to be alone on their walk, whatever. That's okay too. But you never know. So it's like, I want to live in a friendlier, more connected world. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to be friendlier, and I'm going to connect with more people. That is my goal, and that is the world that I want to be in. And I'm going to use the many platforms out there that kind of separate us in order to bring us together too. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think it can work. And so I'm going to do that. And I'm really excited about all these opportunities and the learning, about, okay, like here's what you do to create a Gmail. And I know, okay, that's so basic, right? Like anybody should know that, but these aren't things I typically do. Like I would refer the IT stuff to Chris, and I would say, I don't want to know, I don't want to do it. But I was like, this is like my baby. I'm learning about it. Like I'm learning about, oh, how do I do a trademark? Is a trademark necessary? Like, and I'm learning like, okay, here's where I go to start the YouTube channel. Here's where I go to name the thing. Here's where I go to Canva and create things. So like just having all these new experiences to do is super important for me to kind of focus in on and be able to say, okay, here's what I did. So I'm thinking, like, because I'm such like a visual person, like, I did really well with like the gratitude. I did really well when I first started my weight loss journey by having the scale. The scale now is not my enemy by no means. I have no problem with the scale. The problem I have is with myself. Like I understand who I am, and I understand that sometimes I put crazy, expectations on myself. And I've worked really hard, and I love the way I look right now. I even more so love the way I feel. Like even on the days when my hip hurts and I'm in pain, like I feel alive. My resting heart rate is like 47, like that of an elite athlete. Okay. That's unheard of. My resting heart rate used to be like 76, 79, 80. Like it was really high. I am adding years to my life, by taking care of my heart as best I can. I mean, obviously I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm taking care of myself, and I feel really good. I feel free. I feel like finally there is me. I've been looking for you all along, and you were hiding in there. Just like when I was a little girl and I used to go into my room, I would shut the door. I would put a bunch of stuff. I put clothes. I put toys. I put books. I put a bunch of things in front of it. Then I go to my closet. I put a bunch of stuff. Like I would literally like open the closet a little bit. I'd throw a bunch of stuff in front of the closet so nobody could come in. Then once I was in the closet, I'd put a bunch of stuff between me and the door again. And I was always hiding. I didn't want to be seen. I'd tell myself, shh, I'd cover my mouth so nobody could hear me breathe. I would just be so quiet and still. And I've realized it's only been until recently that I've had the courage to emerge from that closet. And it's like slowly by slowly, like one shoe at a time, one piece of clothing at a time, one toy at a time. And then suddenly I was like peeking out the closet, and I was like, it's not so scary out there. It's okay. I can come out and play. And so then I'll start moving other things, and I slowly left the closet. And then again, I was in the room. Now it was on a little bit bigger of a space, and I was still scared and nervous and worried about what was out there. But then I started moving things away, and the same thing. I would peek out the door like, is it safe? Is it okay? No, I don't want to go out there. And finally, I'm having the courage to emerge who I am, not who somebody else wants me to be, not who I think that they want me to be, not who, is more worried about the judgment of others than disappointing herself. So like, I did not have a lot of dreams, desires, wants. I was okay settling because it was safe. It seemed so safe. And at the worst case scenario, the only person that was hurt was me. And I was a strong person, so I could handle the hurt. I had a high pain tolerance. But at the end of the day, my life is not me just stifling who I am in order to avoid pain, in order for somebody else to find comfort and peace. Like, this is my one shot. Like, I don't have any guarantees there's any form of life after what I experience here. And so, is that fair to me to continue to hide in the closet and keep quiet just so that the others don't, feel uncomfortable by what I'm saying? No. And that was the same thing with my body. It was like I was hiding away. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to bring any attention to myself. I didn't want to, upset my husband, who felt insecure if I, wasn't, if I was looking good or whatever, always had these feelings that like, I just wanted to do it to be with somebody else. Like, it was all his own insecurity. Like, I just want to do it for myself. And if it was for anybody else, it was for my kids and my grandkids. But I really know this was for me, because even if I had the only motivation for my kids and my grandkids, ultimately, it's not sustainable. It has to be for you, for any change. So I so believe anybody can change. But the caveat is, you have to want to change. You have to want to change for you, not because you think if you change and you change your hair from brown hair to blonde hair, that more men will like you, or, you change your body so that you can get the attention or keep the attention of somebody else. None of that will work. It's not a sustainable give and take there. Like, for yourself, I am now willing to take bigger chances and bigger sacrifices. And I know at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, it's only because of me, and I'm only disappointing myself. And it may not be a disappointment. It may just be it didn't work. And that's okay too. But at least I tried. And at least I tried for me. I didn't try and then expect some kind of a result or reaction from somebody else, and then I didn't get it. And then that like negates all of the work that I did. No, heck no. So again, I don't hate the scale. I'm not scared of the scale. What I am protective of is my mental health. I don't want to be defined. I don't want anything to negate my progress because of a number on the scale. If that number hasn't moved at all since the 1.5 years I've been on it, that's okay. Like, it's fine. But I just don't want to deal with it. I'm not in that place where it matters enough, because I know that like that is still a place in which I am not fully optimized yet. Like, I can still use some improvement in that area, because I know I can fit into a size small. Like, I know like there's other ways I can measure myself, if all of a sudden, and I'm eating very well. I was like today thinking, I thought today was going to be the day I was back on my good eating. I still have a bunch of treats left. It's still a bunch of candy around here and goodies. My other kids are on spring break now this week. I want to go out and take them out to, I want to go to the city with them. I want to go do some stuff. I was like, you know what? I think it's going to be the following week. Me, it's got to be on a Monday. But I was like, I'll get it back together then. like for right now, it's just not happening. So yeah, I'm not getting on the scale this week for sure. But it really doesn't matter. Like what matters is the process. What matters is I'm doing it every day. And I am so proud of myself for using the tool of a scale to help motivate me when I need it. And so just as like I am right now, I'm using the LinkedIn to create this business persona of my own, of my own dream, my own imagination, my own coming up with a name. Like, I'm so proud. This is my baby, and I'm doing little things that I can measure and say, yes, it's working. Even though I know it's working, but it's that external validation that I need sometimes to remind me that it is, until I have my confidence. Because although I've started other business before, this is different. I did it before for somebody else. That was their desire. I enjoyed, learning how to open a business and do that kind of stuff. But I have never done something like this for myself. And that was the same thing that went with my weight loss journey. That's the same thing with all this. So my writing, this is for me to then hopefully go out there and help you. So I say all that to say, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm really going to work on trying to keep to topic, because I want you to be able to follow along. Like, I want you to enjoy this. I don't want you to be like, this girl is so crazy. I cannot understand her. But maybe there's somebody out there who is just as crazy as me who can keep up. So for you, thank you so much. And if you're not, thank you so much too, because there's so many channels out there. Go find somebody who you connect with. But I hope that you have a great day today. Please do me a favor. Go out there. Be kind to yourself. Do something for yourself. If you can, do an action for your own dreams, whether it be just thinking about it or saying, you know what, I'm going to look up if this business name is available, or, researching what it is you want to do. Secondly, if you can, please go out there, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. Thank you so much. Bye.